Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the power of enemies. A lot of people hate having enemies. A lot of people don't like it because it doesn't feel good. Little do people know that having enemies is one of the most powerful things that you gotta have. When you don't have enemies, you stagnate. When you don't have enemies, there's no creativity. When you don't have enemy, there's no success. There's nothing that's motivating you towards something. So today I'm gonna show you why having enemies is important, why enemies is not only relegated to people who could potentially kill you, and why expanding your definition of an enemy will not only help you, but help everyone around you. Okay, yeah, exactly. Now, people ask me, do I use these tactics that I talk on this channel? For the most part, I don't. I don't believe in being manipulative. I don't believe in lowering people's self-esteem in order to get them. I don't do that. What I teach, for example, like I'm a dating coach for men. I teach guys more of a light style of game, which is more good intention, less manipulation, less thinking games. Rather, it's more being in the present moment. Now, that's why I always tell people don't use these. But if you want to use it, go ahead. Now, a warning. No, not a warning, but let me tell you, I'm on Patreon, so those who don't know, I'm always reminding you guys, but just to let you guys know, I accept donations. Also, I do one-on-one coaching. If you need one-on-one coaching, go to mindfulattraction.org and message me there. And I may be coming out with a book, and I may be doing a seminar. That's just in my head, so, just to let you guys know, I want to know what you guys think of me about, writing a book and all that sort of stuff. So, why don't people have enemies? Because a lot of people say, oh, I don't have enemies. Like they live their lives, it's all safe, there's no enemies. That's because of fear. Now, people don't know that fear is the #1 thing that causes that inflicts pain. Fear. Everyone lives in a constant state of fear. Fear of losing someone. Fear of dying. Fear of loss. Just fear in general. It guides most of our behavior. Fear of not getting validated. Right? People don't understand that if you don't think you have enemies because of fear, it means that it's not that you don't have enemies. It's that you're not confronting your enemies. You see, like you're acting that ignorance is bliss. So let me not confront your enemies. You see, like for example, like an enemy could be like your bills. Like knowing you have bills. Identify your enemy. What's your enemy? I gotta pay my bills. Identify it. Why? Don't you want to identify it? Because it's fear. You see what I'm saying? Fear is the enemy. Okay? Now, enemies, people don't understand that enemies, and it's fucked up, but enemies are as important as friends. You see, people only want to be around friends, but they don't know that enemies are as important as friends. Enemies bring friends together, and enemies keep friends together. You don't believe me? For example, back in the days when we were hunting animals and shit, right? We had an enemy, which was animals, and because of that, we needed to what? Fight them, eat them. I love eating animals, right? And what happened? So that made humans do what? Create tools. Because they saw a weakness as a result of their enemy made them see a weakness, and so they started making tools. And then they united. They created a tribe. And so the enemy brought them together. And as a result, in general, it had a synergistic effect where the creativity, their intelligence rose at a faster level as opposed to not having enemies and just living off the land and being chilled. So as you can see, enemies bring people together and promote innovation. Now, another note on enemies that I want you to understand before I get into the subject is you have to realize that you have to kill your enemy completely, and annihilate them, cripple them, or you got to make them your friends. You see, make them your friend or kill them completely. You see, because if you don't kill them completely, they're going to return. For example, a perfect analogy is people who do drugs, right? If you don't quit completely, if you don't kill it completely by abstaining completely, you're never gonna be free. See what I'm saying? If you don't completely take away distraction, you're gonna get distracted. You see, like there's so many different kind of enemies. That's why I want you to understand just the concept of enemy, so that you have the right mind frame, so that when moments come, you're able to use that in a very dynamic way, rather than just telling you on one subject, which is like studying or guys. You see? Now, you have to kill them, but in a way that doesn't have force. No bloodshed. The best fighter is the one that does it in a way that's quick and easy, fast and easy, right? Rather than stiffening, bend to your enemies. You see, bend to your enemies and think ahead and learn from your battles. So, for example, rather than stiffening, which is let's say that you cannot let's say you're in traffic, right? And you're late to work. That's your enemy. Like that's in your way, right? That's like your browser, your the big boss in Mario. That's in your way. So what's stiffening? I can't go to work. I'm late, but I want to go to work, and I cannot control it, so I'm mad. Bending is this, like, well, I can't go to work. Well, I gotta deal with it. I'll be here right now and be present, because I can't do nothing about it. Complaining is not gonna do anything. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not that you surrender. You just bend. You see what I'm saying? You're using its force against it, right? And so because of that, you actually grow. You become more emotionally stable. You have more emotional fortitude. And so your enemy has strengthened you, but you have to make that choice. Most people just try to run away from the enemy through using their minds. You see, in addition to think ahead, because a good good military officer and you know, the one who guides the army will always, the best ones are the ones that think ahead, that think the longest term. The best leaders are the ones that think the longest. The worst leaders are the ones that think in short term. So think ahead. Think about the enemy that you may encounter a couple days, a couple years from now. Oh, what, you noticing that you may get old? All right, you start doing yoga, because you know that's an enemy. Stiffening of your muscles and not being able to be flexible. That's going to be an enemy. See what I'm saying? Thinking from the past and learning from your past battles, rather than be ashamed of it, look at the footage. Look how you fucked up in certain areas, and see how you could have done it differently. See those patterns. Most people don't do this. But if you really are interested in learning about your enemy and defeating it, you have to first know your enemy and know its habits. Like people who are trying to quit drugs, know your enemy by knowing the trigger points. Where you get triggered to do whatever you do. What emotional states cause you to get the cravings. Stuff like that. So, let's expand on the concept of enemy. Because we're just talking about, again, we all think an enemy is someone who can kill you. It's not an enemy. An enemy is people, A, who want to kill you. The other one is your competition. You see, you create an enemy. For example, let's say that you're playing basketball and you're practicing and you have no motivation. Create an enemy. Create something to fight against. So now you're going to what? Put a time. I'm gonna make this certain amount of shots in this time. You see, now you're fighting against time. You're creating an enemy, and now you have more energy. Another way is having a friend, having competition, friendly competition. You see, or having someone who you're competing against in the same field. Mentally create those competition. Mentally create those conflicts. For example, Michael Jordan used to create enemies out of nothing simply to get motivation. He used to say, "Hey, is it true that Charles Barkley said that?" He was like, "Jordan, he didn't say that. I think he said that. I'm gonna whoop his ass today and score 55 on him." See, he's creating his own enemy. A little psychotic, but you get the point. Another way is your emotion. Your emotions are your enemy. Now, this is the same paradox. I say be one with your emotions. Be present. You see? But what I'm saying is that you have to be one with your emotion, which is bending to your enemy, observing your emotion, not resisting and accepting it, right? But your enemy in terms of identifying that in reality, the problem is not the situation itself, but your perception. That's the enemy. You see, I'm not saying to antagonize your emotions and hate them. I'm just saying to realize the cause of most of your problems and accept it. You see? It's not that you hate your emotions and you're fuck you emotions. No, you're like, oh, that's the enemy. Okay, now let me plan again. Let me plan ahead. You see? Another one is your mind, the talker. It criticizes you. You suck. You suck. You're horrible. You're horrible. See, that's the enemy. See, observe the enemy. All right? Another way is your family. When they imposing their will on you. Oh, you got to get married. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to do that. That's your enemy. Now, we're not saying to hate them, but to use their lack of belief in you as motivation to do greater things. You see, it's all about if you don't have the life you have, start small. You see, and start creating those enemies so that you know what you want to go towards. So the more they antagonize you with anger, the more stronger you become, because now you identify the enemy as opposed to not identifying them as enemy. And then not knowing why you feel a certain way, not knowing where to direct your attacks. Another one is distraction. Distraction is also an enemy. The distraction wants to feel how you feel. Another one is your sense of self. Your sense of who you are. You're not a real entity. You can't really point to who you really are. You can point to some thoughts, to some memories, but you can't really point to who you really are. Who you really are is more like a cat ball. You know cat ball? Where it looks like a ball, but in reality it's just little strings. That's who you are, an accumulation of thoughts that if you just disentangle them, they become little hairs. And you're like, holy shit, that wasn't me. But that, who I am, the me, is who creates an enemy out of the world. I am a basketball player, so if I don't play basketball, I feel depressed. I am a beautiful girl who gets all the attention. Your identity, which is made out of your past experiences, they gave me attention. People tell me I'm beautiful. I tell myself I'm beautiful. Those thoughts, and they conglomerate and create an identity that feels real and rigid and solid. But when you start taking all those little thoughts, observing the thoughts individually, and just observing rather than seeing the memories, you just feel the emotion, and you start seeing there's nothing there. Identify the enemy, and then realize it's not there. You see? Now, why are enemies so beneficial? I'm going to give you 8 reasons. Why? Enemies show you where to go. My enemy is working at 9 to 5. So what do I have to do? Work towards being independent. You see? My enemy tells me, which is, let's say I feel anger. My enemy tells me, attack this person. Okay, my enemy tells me, all right, now let me go the opposite route and observe the emotion. It tells you where to go. You see? Enemies are honest and show you your real side. Friends will lie to you to keep the friendship. Do I look fat? No, you don't look fat. When in reality, you look fat. Friends won't tell you that because they want to keep the friendship. You know what? People say that's dishonest, but you know what? I value my lifetime of friendship with you as opposed to one moment of truthfulness. I'd rather do that for you. You know, so I'll lie to you. I used to make that mistake where I was too honest, and I didn't realize that it's either keeping it real for that second or having a real relationship for them for the rest of your life. You know, some people want to hear what they want to hear. You got to give it to them. I thought that wasn't the case because you got to be confident. But in reality, sometimes you got to lie. Right? Don't tell that to Jesus. So enemies tell you the truth. So for example, let's say that you are let's say that you're overweight. Your friends will not tell you that. But piss someone off and suddenly, yo, fuck you, you're fat anyways. Or fuck you, your dick is small anyways. You know, stuff like that. Like, they'll tell you the truth. They may be hating, but there's an element of truth. For example, like, I remember in my old channel, let me see how many minutes I have left. In my old channel, I used to post my videos on Reddit, on the men's channel. Like, Reddit, there's a Reddit on seduction. And guys used to tell me, who the fuck is this stuttering prick? Who the fuck is this dude who called you know how to talk? And that's the truth. I stutter sometimes. But people who like me won't tell me that. And that's fine. I know they like me as friends, so they won't tell me that. But people who don't like me, remember, if you want to identify your enemy in someone, make them emotional, and they're going to reveal the truth, how they really are. So your enemies are already emotional. They already fucking hate you, and the most intense emotion is hate. Hate is the most destructive emotion. The emotion that is most contagious, the hate, right next to fear. And so put them in that emotional state of anger, which preludes fear, right? And they're going to tell you the truth. You see? Enemies motivate you and causes you to stay on your toes. You see? So for example, you create a competition. You notice you can't do push-ups? Create an enemy. Have a friend come here and start doing push-ups with him. See who does the most. I can promise you, you'll do more with your friend in competition as opposed to doing it alone. Enemies bring out the greatness in you. Enemies do that. You work out more when you're competing with someone. You see, I got good at pickup because I finished talking to a girl and I wanted to get more girls. So not getting girls, I was like, that's the enemy. Let me get more girls. It was intent enough to get me through the hurdle. You see, though, the thing is that when you feel a threat, you're always going to be remain alert. You're gonna have more energy. Your body's gonna be more on overdrive. Like, oh shit, I gotta stay alert. I gotta stay alert because it's an enemy. So you wake up with more motivation, with more passion, with more focus because you have an enemy. You have a challenge. But most people don't like that because they don't like feeling uncomfortable. Friends bring you, and again, enemies bring nations closer together. See, create an enemy. Like, let's say Russia. Russia's the enemy, right? Let's just say that Russia's the enemy, right? Russia's the enemy. What's gonna happen? Russia's the enemy. They're trying to attack us. Everyone will unite. Yo, fuck being politically correct. Fuck all of those little issues, you know, like little like issues on healthcare. That shit is irrelevant when it's about safety and freedom. The most important thing in life is freedom and being alive. All right. So when you threaten that, people fear, and the threat becomes the enemy, and now people will be more susceptible to your commands. People will see you more charismatic because they see you as a beacon of hope. They become a prisoner of war, a prisoner of hope. So enemies bring closer together. But at the same time, because of that same method, enemies could be strategically used to deceive a nation. You could say that the world is in a nuclear like almost like everyone's about to fight a nuclear war, and if you could convince the whole world that may happen, you can use that fear to begin to take away human rights, to begin to take away constitutional rights. Oh, there's terrorists. So we gotta, for the good of everyone, we gotta start watching you. And yeah, it's wrong, but it's for the good. Okay, that's one step. There's terrorists, so because of that, like, we suspect that your nation is doing terrorist thing, and so because of that, the whole world is gonna conspire to discipline you because you're doing it wrong. And people will actually give their rights because they believe the fear. But they don't notice is that that fear is being used to coercively give up your rights. You see, enemies bring other enemies closer together. You want to make a friend with your enemy? Find a common enemy. You want to get closer to a friend? You want to get closer to a partner? Create an enemy. You want your partner to get closer to you? Create an enemy. Tell them that his parents are convoluted to not be to separate you guys apart, and you're gonna get closer. As soon as, for example, there are two teams that are like the Red Sox and whoever beats the Yankees. In basketball, I love the Knicks and whoever beats the Cavs, whoever beats LeBron. That's it. That's the only people I root for. I become a fan of whoever beats LeBron. Two enemies in common accord will be brought together by another enemy. You see, that's a powerful thing enemies have. Enemies bring out innovation. When you know you're about to get killed, when you know you're in threat, you will always think of innovative things. You see, they make you stronger because challenges help you grow, and they make you wiser because you learn from your enemies. See, enemies are a powerful thing, and everyone avoids it. The more enemies you have, the more important you are. It's not about your friends. It's about people who hate on you, people who despise you because there's an element of jealousy, an element that you have something that they want, an element that you threaten them. And nobody's threatened by something that's weak. Nobody's threatened by something that cannot take them over, whatnot. And that's a very interesting concept because I started reading The Prince by Machiavelli.